My name is Alexandra Martinez, and for the last 6 years, my family has treated my career like an embarrassing secret they're forced to acknowledge at holidays. It started when I graduated from Yale Law School at 25. My father had been so proud, his daughter the lawyer. My older sister Emma had gone into marketing, which Dad tolerated but never really celebrated. But law was prestigious. Law was respectable. Then I told them where I'd be working. The public defender's office, my father repeated, his face falling. In the Bronx. Dad. It's an incredible opportunity. Alexandra, you graduated third in your class from Yale. You had offers from every major firm in Manhattan. Sullivan and Cromwell wanted you. Cravath wanted you. And you're choosing to defend criminals for $63,000 a year. I'm choosing to defend people who can't afford representation. It's constitutional work, Dad. It matters. My mother had put her hand on his arm. Richard, maybe it's just for a year or two. Like a fellowship. But it wasn't just for a year or two. I spent 6 years as a public defender handling everything from misdemeanors to murder cases. I worked 100-hour weeks, fought against prosecutors with unlimited resources, and won more cases than I lost. I became known in the Bronx as the firewall. Because no matter how strong the prosecution's case seemed, I'd find a way through. My family never understood it. Every holiday gathering was the same. My sister Emma would talk about her marketing campaigns for luxury brands, her salary increases, her corner office with a view of Central Park. My parents would beam with pride. Then they'd turn to me. Still working with criminals, Alex? They're called defendants, Mom. And yes. When are you going to move to a real firm? Emma's boyfriend knows some partners at. I'm happy where I am. The disappointment was always palpable. 3 years ago, Emma started dating Trevor Williams. Trevor was a federal prosecutor in the Southern District of New York. And my father loved him instantly. Here was a lawyer who put criminals away instead of defending them. Here was someone who made $185,000 a year at 32. Here was the legal career my father had wanted for me. Trevor is going places, Dad would say at every opportunity. The U.S. Attorney's Office is grooming him for bigger things. Maybe even a judgeship someday. He wasn't wrong. Last year, at 35, Trevor had been nominated to the Federal District Court for the Southern District of New York. At 35. It was almost unheard of. Most federal judges weren't appointed until their late 40s or 50s. My father had thrown a celebration dinner the night Trevor's nomination was announced. Champagne, speeches, toasts about how Trevor represented the best of the legal profession. I'd sat quietly at the end of the table, listening to my father praise the man who'd been on the opposite side of 3 of my cases. Trevor had won 2 of them. I'd won one. A complete dismissal that had made the New York Times because of the prosecutorial misconduct I'd exposed. Trevor and I never spoke about our courtroom encounters at family dinners. It was an unspoken rule. My family wanted to believe we were both lawyers just doing different things. They didn't want to acknowledge that we were adversaries. But we were. What my family didn't know, what I'd carefully kept from them, was that 6 months ago, everything had changed. 6 months ago, I'd received a call from Senator Patricia Chen's office. Ms. Martinez, the senator would like to meet with you regarding a judicial vacancy. I'd assumed it was about recommending someone else. I'd worked with dozens of talented attorneys who deserved recognition. But when I arrived at the senator's Manhattan office, she got straight to the point. Alexandra, how would you feel about a federal judgeship? I'd stared at her. I'm sorry, what? Judge Morrison is retiring from the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. It's one of the most important courts in the country, just below the Supreme Court. I'm looking for someone brilliant, principled, and unafraid of powerful interests. Your name keeps coming up. Senator, I'm 31 years old. I'm a public defender. Federal appellate judges are usually older white men from corporate firms, yes. Which is exactly why we need to change that pattern. You've argued and won 15 appellate cases. You've exposed corruption in 3 prosecutors' offices. You've written articles on constitutional law that have been cited in Supreme Court opinions. And you're fearless. She'd slid a folder across her desk. This is a letter of support from the Chief Judge of the Second Circuit. This is a letter from the Dean of Yale Law. This is a letter from the New York Civil Liberties Union. This is a letter from 20 public defenders across 3 states. Everyone I've spoken to says the same thing. You're the best legal mind of your generation. I'd opened the folder with shaking hands. The letters were glowing. The dean of Yale had written, "In 30 years of teaching, I have never encountered a legal mind as sharp or a moral compass as true as Alexander Martinez's. I don't know what to say. Say you'll accept the nomination." The process had moved incredibly fast. The senator had connections. The timing was right. The president needed a win on judicial appointments and my record was unimpeachable. I was young, yes, but my work spoke for itself. The FBI background check was thorough. The American Bar Association rated me well qualified. Their highest rating. The Senate Judiciary Committee hearing was scheduled for 3 months out. I told no one. Not my family, not my colleagues at the public defender's office, not my closest friends. Judicial nominations could fall apart for countless reasons. A past client causing controversy, a political shift, an opposition campaign. I didn't want to celebrate prematurely. Then 2 weeks ago I'd been confirmed by the Senate. 67 to 33. A strong bipartisan vote. Yesterday I'd been sworn in as the youngest judge ever appointed to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. At 31 years old. The ceremony had been private, attended only by the Chief Justice, Senator Chin, and a few clerks. The press release would go out Monday morning. Until then, I was under strict orders to keep it confidential. The Chief Justice wanted to coordinate media strategy around several judicial appointments being announced simultaneously. My chambers were ready. My nameplate had been installed. Honorable Alexander Martinez, Circuit Judge. And Monday morning, I had my first case assignment meeting with the Chief Justice and the other judges on the Second Circuit. The same Monday morning as my father's retirement party. The text from my father came on Wednesday, 5 days before both events. Retirement party Saturday, 6 p.m. at the plaza. Black tie. Everyone important will be there. I read it twice. My father was retiring after 35 years as a senior executive at a major pharmaceutical company. This was a big deal for him. Of course I'd be there. I replied, "I'll be there. Congratulations, Dad." An hour later, another text. "Actually, I need to talk to you about the party." He called immediately after. "Alex, I need to ask you for a favor." "Of course, Dad." "What is it?" "The party is going to be high profile. Board members, executives, investors. Trevor's parents are coming, his father is on the board, you know. And Trevor just got his official commission as a federal judge last week. He'll be sworn in Monday morning." "That's great," I said, meaning it. Whatever our professional relationship, Trevor had worked hard for the appointment. "Yes, well, the thing is, Emma is going to be there with Trevor and she's going to announce their engagement. We're planning this whole moment. Trevor's judicial appointment, their engagement, my retirement. It's a celebration of success." I waited, sensing something coming. "Alex, I think it might be better if you don't come." The words hung in the air. "You're uninviting me from your retirement party?" "Not uninviting. Just suggesting it might be more comfortable for everyone if you sat this one out. Trevor's going to be surrounded by legal professionals, judges, senior prosecutors. And you're still with the public defender's office. It creates an awkward contrast." "An awkward contrast," I repeated slowly. "You defend the people Trevor prosecuted, Alex. You've been on opposite sides in court. It's going to raise questions, create uncomfortable conversations. Emma specifically asked me to make sure the focus stays on her and Trevor." "Emma asked you to uninvite me?" "She said having you there would complicate her night. People know you two are sisters. They'll ask about you." "And what's she supposed to say?" "My sister defends criminals for poverty wages while my fiancé puts them away and just became a federal judge. It's not a good look for her." I took a breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "Dad, I've never missed a major family event. This is your retirement after 35 years. I know and I appreciate that. But Alex, you have to understand, this is Emma's night too. She's 33, she's finally settling down with an accomplished man, and she deserves to shine. You can come to something smaller. We'll do a family dinner next month, just us." "A family dinner," I said quietly. "Yes. Look, I know this sounds harsh, but you made your choices. You chose a career that doesn't reflect well on the family. Trevor is a federal judge. You defend people who belong in prison. Can you see how that creates problems?" I almost laughed. Almost told him everything right then. But something stopped me. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was pettiness. Maybe it was the desire to see his face when he realized what he'd done. "Okay, Dad," I said quietly. "I won't come to the party. Thank you for understanding. This is for the best." "And Dad? Trevor's swearing-in ceremony is Monday morning, right?" "Yes, 9 a.m. at the Daniel Patrick Moynihan Courthouse. Emma and I are going. It's going to be a proud day." "I'm sure it will be," I said. After we hung up, I sat in my small apartment in Brooklyn, looking at the framed photo of me at my law school graduation. My father had his arm around me in that photo, beaming with pride. That was 6 years ago. Before I'd disappointed him. I called my best friend from law school, Marcus, who was now a professor at Columbia. "They uninvited you from your own father's retirement party?" he said, incredulous. "Emma's engagement announcement takes priority, apparently. Alex, you need to tell them. You need to tell them you're a circuit court judge. The press release doesn't go out until Monday morning. I'm under orders to keep it quiet until then. So tell them Sunday. After the party." "No," I said slowly, an idea forming. "I have a better plan." Thursday morning, I received my case assignments from the Chief Justice's office. My first oral argument session would be Tuesday. 3 cases, all civil rights issues I'd be hearing with 2 senior judges. Friday, I met with my 3 law clerks, brilliant recent law school graduates who'd be helping me research and write opinions. We spent the day going through my chambers, organizing case files, discussing judicial philosophy. "Judge Martinez," one of them said, I still wasn't used to the title. "Do you mind if I ask a question?" "Of course." "How does it feel? Being the youngest appellate judge in the country? And coming from a public defender background?" I smiled. "It feels like I have a lot to prove. And like I finally have the power to fix some of the systemic problems I've been fighting against for 6 years." Saturday morning, the morning of my father's retirement party, I went for a long run in Prospect Park. I thought about my dad, about Emma, about Trevor, about the last 6 years of being treated like a disappointment. I thought about showing up to the party anyway, making a scene, announcing my appointment in front of everyone. But that wasn't who I was. I didn't need their validation. I didn't need their party. I spent the afternoon reading case files for Tuesday's oral arguments. At 6 p.m. when the party was starting, I ordered Thai food and continued working. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. "Dad said you're not coming. Probably for the best. Trevor's parents keep asking about you and it's awkward explaining what you do. Enjoy your evening." I didn't respond. At 8 p.m. my phone buzzed again. A photo in the family group chat. Emma and Trevor, her showing off a massive engagement ring, my father beaming beside them. The caption, "So much to celebrate. Trevor's federal judgeship and our engagement. Best night ever." Dozens of comments flooded in from relatives. "Congratulations. What an accomplished couple. A federal judge in the family. How wonderful." My Aunt Nancy commented, "Too bad Alex couldn't be here, but I understand she's busy with her work." I turned off my phone and went to bed early. I had a big day Monday. Monday morning I woke at 5 a.m. I put on my most expensive suit, a black Armani I'd bought specifically for the swearing-in ceremony that my family didn't know about. I had my hair done professionally. I looked like exactly what I was, a federal appellate judge. At 8 a.m., I arrived at the Thurgood Marshall United States Courthouse at 40 Foley Square. Not the Daniel Patrick Moynihan Courthouse where Trevor would be sworn in. That was for district court judges. The Thurgood Marshall Courthouse housed the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, one level up in prestige and power. My chambers were on the 15th floor with views of downtown Manhattan. My nameplate gleamed on the door. Honorable Alexander Martinez, United States Circuit Judge. At 8:30, I met with the Chief Justice and the other Second Circuit judges for our case assignment meeting. We discussed the week's oral arguments, debated some procedural issues and reviewed pending motions. At 9:15 my assistant knocked on my door. "Judge Martinez, Judge Williams just arrived for his orientation meeting. Chief Justice Roberts is walking him over." "Trevor." "Here. For his orientation on how appellate courts worked, since district court judges needed to understand the appeals process." "Thank you, Jennifer. Please show them to the conference room. I'll be right there." I took a breath, straightened my robes. Yes, I was wearing my judicial robes for the first time, and walked down the hallway. Through the glass walls of the conference room, I could see Trevor in his new suit, looking proud and confident. The Chief Justice was speaking to him, gesturing around the courthouse. I opened the door. "Good morning, Chief Justice." "Good morning, Judge Williams." Trevor turned around. His face went completely white. "Alex," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "Judge Martinez," the Chief Justice corrected gently. "Though I understand you two know each other." "Trevor, Judge Martinez was confirmed to the Second Circuit 2 weeks ago. She'll be one of the appellate judges reviewing cases from your district court." Trevor stared at me. At my robes. At the nameplate I'd brought with me to the conference room. You're a circuit court judge?" he managed. "As of last week," I said calmly. "Please sit down. The Chief Justice and I are here to walk you through how the appellate process works." Trevor sat down mechanically, still staring. The Chief Justice began explaining the relationship between district courts and appellate courts, how cases moved up the chain, what district court judges needed to include in their rulings to make them easier to review on appeal. Trevor wasn't listening. He kept looking at me, then at the Chief Justice, then back at me. "I'm sorry," Trevor finally interrupted. "I need to understand. Alex, Judge Martinez, is on the Second Circuit? The Court of Appeals?" "That's correct," the Chief Justice said. "But she's 31 years old." 31 and brilliant," the Chief Justice said firmly. "Her confirmation was one of the smoothest I've seen in years. The American Bar Association gave her their highest rating. Her Senate confirmation was 67 to 33, which in this political climate is practically unanimous. But she was a public defender. And one of the finest lawyers I've encountered in my career," the Chief Justice said, his tone cooling slightly. "Judge Martinez has argued 15 appellate cases and won 13 of them. She's exposed prosecutorial misconduct in 3 separate offices. She's written extensively on constitutional law. Her legal mind is exceptional." Trevor looked like he might be sick. "The press release went out an hour ago," I said quietly. "It's probably hitting the news now." Trevor pulled out his phone with shaking hands. His face somehow went even paler as he scrolled. "Oh my God," he whispered. "Oh my God, Emma. Your father." "What about them?" the Chief Justice asked, confused. "They're my fiancé and her father," Trevor said faintly. They don't know." "Don't know what?" "That Alex, that Judge Martinez, is on the Second Circuit." The Chief Justice looked at me, then at Trevor, understanding dawning. "I see," he said carefully. "Well, they'll know now. It's front page of the New York Times legal section. At 31, Alexandra Martinez becomes youngest Second Circuit judge in history, breaking barriers as former public defender." Trevor was scrolling frantically through his phone. "My phone is exploding," he said. "Every lawyer I know is texting me. Emma is calling. Your father is calling." He looked at me. "Why didn't you tell them?" "They didn't ask," I said simply. "And I was under orders to keep the appointment confidential until the press release went out. But at the party, Emma announced our engagement. I was celebrating my appointment. If we'd known you were..." He stopped, realizing what he was saying. "If you'd known I was a circuit court judge, you wouldn't have excluded me?" I finished for him. "That's interesting, Trevor. Because my career didn't change. My accomplishments didn't change. The only thing that changed was your perception of their value." My phone buzzed on the table. Then again. And again. The Chief Justice glanced at it. "You should probably turn that off. You're going to be receiving a lot of attention today." I silenced my phone, but not before seeing the notifications. Emma, 37 missed calls. Dad, 28 missed calls. Mom, 19 missed calls. The family group chat, 156 unread messages. Trevor stood up abruptly. I need to call Emma." "Excuse me." He practically ran from the conference room. The Chief Justice looked at me with something like sympathy. "Family complications?" he asked. "You could say that. For what it's worth, Judge Martinez, you earned this position entirely on your merit. Whatever your family dynamics, that doesn't change." "Thank you, Chief Justice. Now, shall we discuss your first oral arguments? You have 3 cases Tuesday and they're all significant." We spent the next hour going through the cases. By the time we finished, my phone showed 94 missed calls and over 200 text messages. At 11 a.m. Jennifer knocked again. Judge Martinez, there are reporters in the lobby. They want an interview about your appointment. And there's a woman claiming to be your sister demanding to see you. Tell the reporters I'll issue a statement this afternoon. And tell my sister that I'm in a judicial proceeding and cannot be disturbed. Yes, ma'am. At noon I finally checked my messages. Emma's text had progressed from confused to angry to panicked. Alex, call me now. Why didn't you tell us? Trevor is humiliated. Everyone at his swearing-in ceremony was talking about you instead of him. Dad is in shock. How could you do this to us? You deliberately let us exclude you from the party knowing you were a circuit court judge? This is so typical of you. Making everything about yourself. My father's messages were similar. Alexandro, we need to talk immediately. I just read the New York Times. Is this real? Do you have any idea how humiliating this is? Everyone at the party was there Saturday. Now they're all calling asking why we didn't mention your appointment. People think we didn't know our own daughter was appointed to the Second Circuit. We look like fools. My mother's messages were the most emotional. Alex, please call. Your father is devastated. Emma's crying. This is a disaster. Why didn't you tell us? We could have celebrated together. Please, sweetheart, we need to fix this. The family group chat was pure chaos. Aunt Nancy, did everyone know about Alex except us? Uncle Frank, a circuit court judge. That's higher than Trevor's position. Cousin Maria, wait, I'm confused. I thought Alex was just a public defender. Emma, she was. She deliberately hid this from us. Uncle Frank, actually this is incredible. A Second Circuit judge at 31? That's historic. Emma, that's not the point. Uncle Frank, I think that's exactly the point. I turned off my phone and went to lunch with two of my new colleagues, senior judges who'd been on the Second Circuit for over a decade. We heard about your family situation, Judge Chen said kindly. Courthouses are small communities. Word travels. It's complicated, I said. It always is, Judge Robertson added. For what it's worth, I've read your work. Your appellate briefs from your public defender days are taught at Harvard Law now. You deserve to be here. Thank you. And between us? Judge Chen leaned in. Trevor Williams is a fine district court judge, but he's not Second Circuit material. Not yet, maybe not ever. You are. Don't let family politics make you doubt that. By Tuesday morning, the story had exploded. The New York Times ran a feature. From public defender to federal appellate judge, Alexandra Martinez's unlikely journey. The Washington Post published an op-ed, Why We Need More Judges Like Alexandra Martinez. NPR interviewed Senator Chen, who praised my extraordinary legal mind and unwavering commitment to justice. CNN ran a segment about the historic nature of my appointment. The youngest Second Circuit judge ever, one of the few former public defenders on any federal appellate court. And buried in all the coverage was a small but telling detail. Judge Martinez's sister Emma is engaged to Judge Trevor Williams, who was sworn in to the Southern District of New York on Monday. The Martinez family was unavailable for comment. My phone never stopped ringing. I kept it off. Instead, I focused on my work. Tuesday morning, I heard my first oral arguments. 3 cases, each involving civil rights violations. I asked sharp questions, challenged both sides' arguments, and felt the weight of the responsibility I now carried. After the arguments, Judge Robertson found me in my chambers. You were exceptional up there, he said. Tough questions, clear thinking, genuine engagement with the issues. You're a natural. Thank you. It felt heavy. Yes. Good. It should. You're deciding people's lives, their rights, their futures. The day it stops feeling heavy is the day you should step down. That evening, my mother appeared at the courthouse. Security called my chambers. Judge Martinez, there's a Catherine Martinez in the lobby. She says she's your mother. I hesitated. Then, send her up. My mother arrived looking exhausted. She'd been crying. Alex, she said, her voice breaking. Please. We need to talk. I gestured for her to sit. Your father didn't mean to hurt you, she began. He just didn't understand. Didn't understand what, Mom? That I was qualified. That I was successful. That I deserved respect. We thought you were throwing your career away. Public defenders don't become judges. They just don't. Except I did. You never told us you were even being considered for a judgeship. Because you never asked about my career except to tell me I'd wasted it. You never asked about my cases, my wins, my accomplishments. You compared me to Trevor and found me lacking without ever actually looking at what I'd achieved. My mother was crying now. Your father uninvited you from his party because he was ashamed of you. And now everyone knows he uninvited a Second Circuit judge from his retirement party. He's mortified. He should be. Alex. Mom, I love you. But I'm tired of apologizing for being a disappointment when I've accomplished something extraordinary. I'm one of the most powerful judges in the country. I'm 31 years old. I got here because I was brilliant and principled and worked harder than anyone around me. And you missed it because you were too busy being embarrassed by me. We want to make this right. How? By being proud of me now that other people are impressed? By celebrating me now that it's socially advantageous. She didn't have an answer. I need you to leave, Mom. I have work to do. When can we see you? When can we talk properly? I don't know. I'll call you when I'm ready. After she left, I stood at my window looking out over Manhattan. The city where I'd spent 6 years being treated like a failure by my family while quietly building something remarkable. My phone buzzed. I turned it back on to check messages from my clerks. One text stood out. From Trevor. Alex, I need to talk to you. Not about family stuff. About a case. I called him back. What case? I have a criminal matter coming before me next week. The defendant is claiming prosecutorial misconduct. Her attorney is citing 3 cases where you exposed similar problems when you were a public defender. I've read the motion. It's compelling. And I think she's right. I think the prosecution cut corners. But if I rule in her favor, the U.S. Attorney's Office is going to appeal. To the Second Circuit. To you, potentially. So you want to know how I'd rule? No. I want to know. I want to know if I can be the kind of judge who makes the right call even when it's politically uncomfortable. The way you did for 6 years. I was quiet for a moment. Trevor, you don't need my permission to be a good judge. You just need to read the law, look at the facts, and rule accordingly. That's the job. Your family is furious with you. I know. Emma says you embarrassed her on purpose. That you could have told us about your appointment but chose not to. Do you think that's true? He paused. I think you made your own path while we were all too busy judging you to notice. And I think I owe you an apology. Trevor. I'm serious. I've been opposing you in court for 3 years. I won some, you won some. But I never respected you the way I should have. I saw public defender and I assumed, I don't know what I assumed, that you were less serious, less talented. It was stupid and wrong. Thank you for saying that. For what it's worth, everyone at the courthouse is talking about you. The clerks are thrilled there's a former public defender on the circuit. The other judges are impressed by your work. You've already changed the culture here and you've been on the bench for less than a week. After we hung up, I felt something shift. Not forgiveness, not yet. But maybe the beginning of understanding. 3 months later, I was in my chambers preparing for oral arguments when Jennifer knocked. Judge Martinez, your father is in the lobby. He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's important. I thought about turning him away. Then, give me 5 minutes, then send him up. My father appeared looking older than I remembered. He carried a folder. Alexandra. Thank you for seeing me. You have 15 minutes. I have oral arguments at 2. He sat down across from my desk, looking around at my chambers. The law books, the framed opinions I'd already written, the photo of my swearing-in ceremony. I came to apologize, he said quietly. Not a quick apology. A real one. I waited. I spent 35 years in business, he began. I learned to assess value quickly, what mattered, what didn't, who was important, who wasn't. It made me successful. It also made me blind. He opened the folder. I've been reading about you. Everything I could find. Your cases, your appellate briefs, your law review articles. Did you know your work is taught at 5 different law schools? I knew about Harvard and Yale. Columbia, Stanford, and Berkeley too. I called the dean at Yale. She said you were the best student she'd taught in 30 years. She couldn't believe we weren't celebrating you constantly. He pulled out a printed article. This is from the National Law Journal. They ranked you as one of the 40 most influential lawyers under 40 in America. You're number 12. Trevor is number 37. Dad. Let me finish. I was proud of Trevor because he fit my understanding of success. Federal prosecutor, federal judge, impressive salary, powerful position. But I didn't understand that you'd achieved something rarer. You changed the system. You protected people who had no one else. You did it brilliantly enough to be appointed to one of the most important courts in the country at 31 years old. He looked at me directly. I was wrong, Alexandra. Not just about the party. About 6 years of treating you like you'd failed when you were succeeding in ways I was too narrow to recognize. I'm sorry. Thank you, I said quietly. I know I can't fix this with one conversation. I know I hurt you deeply. But I want to try. If you'll let me. I thought about it. About 6 years of disappointment. About the retirement party. About being treated like an embarrassment. But I also thought about my mother's visit, about Trevor's call, about the article my father had brought showing he'd done actual research into my career. I'll think about it, I said. But Dad, I need you to understand something. My career isn't less valuable because it doesn't look like yours. My success isn't less meaningful because it came from helping people instead of from making money. If you can't understand that, we can't move forward. I understand that now, he said. I should have understood it 6 years ago. After he left, I returned to preparing for oral arguments. The case involved qualified immunity, whether police officers could be sued for constitutional violations. It was exactly the kind of systemic issue I'd fought against as a public defender. Now I had the power to change it. That evening I had dinner with Marcus, my law school friend who'd supported me through everything. How does it feel? He asked. 3 months in. Heavy, I said. Important. Right. Your family. Getting there. Maybe. Slowly. And you? Are you happy? I thought about my chambers, my clerks, my colleagues. About the oral arguments where I pushed lawyers to defend their positions. About the opinions I was writing that would shape constitutional law. About waking up every day knowing I was doing exactly what I was meant to do. Yes, I said. I'm happy. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. Can we meet for coffee? I owe you an apology. A real one. I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I typed, Saturday at 10? There's a place in Brooklyn I like. Her response was immediate. I'll be there. Thank you, Alex. I set my phone down and looked out at the Manhattan skyline, the same view I'd seen from my chambers every day for 3 months. My family had thought I was an embarrassment. They'd excluded me, dismissed me, treated my career like a failure. But I'd built something extraordinary. I'd changed lives, protected rights, and earned one of the most important positions in the American legal system. I was the Honorable Alexander Martinez, United States Circuit Judge for the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. And I'd done it not despite being a public defender but because of it. I'd proven that success doesn't always look like what your family expects. Sometimes it looks like standing up for people everyone else has given up on. Sometimes it looks like fighting uphill battles in underfunded offices. Sometimes it looks like choosing principle over prestige. And sometimes, if you're brilliant and dedicated and a little bit lucky, that path leads you exactly where you're meant to be. My chambers. My courtroom. My chance to change the system from the inside. They'd uninvited me from the party. I built my own.